Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kallas Remarks. I'm your host, Joe Staszak, along with my co-host, Steve Kallas, for a first installment of this year's Overreaction Tuesday. We'll call it Overreaction Tuesday to NFL Week 1. We already discussed the Eagles and the Chiefs on Saturday. So let's get right to the game of the century. They're calling it the game of the century. All right, that was phenomenal. I'd kill to see one of those games like every 10 years. Bills and Ravens. I was talking to my dad during the game, and Ravens kept getting separation. The Bills would get close, but it would still stay about anywhere from a 7 to 15 point lead because they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And next thing you know, there's 4 minutes left. They're down 15. They scored, and boom, a fumble by Derrick Henry, which rarely happens, but
Right.
turnovers, and Bills Bills made a pay. Then they won by a point. And they had Matt Prater come in, kick a, a field goal. He was in Arizona 4 days ago. He flew in. Took him a few days to catch up on his sleep, and it wasn't one of those where they had a timeout and the guy iced him. No, they came running on the field. The clock was going to expire, but they had enough time to, snap the ball, boom, put it down, whoop. And Prater was, people sometimes, overanalyze the kicking. All he has to do is swing the leg through. The ball should be down. He's counting on everyone else. That's his job, is just to swing the leg. If the ball's
Yeah.
not there, it's not his fault. It was there. We're up and through, and that was it. Ball game. What'd you think?
Well, 32-yard field goal, but you're right. Give him all the credit. 41 years old. Prater just almost like walks off the bus kind of thing and then kicks the game-winning field goal. But I will say this, the Ravens just have, every year we talk about how good the Ravens are, how good the Ravens are, how good the Ravens are. And this is their playoff mentality during the regular season now because look, Henry doesn't fumble much. And, he ran around them and threw them and
He
by.
was a beast, and I don't know how he still does it. Forget about the
Yeah.
curse of 370. Give him the ball 570 times. He's just going to just rack it up.
Yep, 18 rushes, 169 yards, two TDs. I mean, he looked unstoppable, but he got stripped. And it's very surprising, and that's the turning point of the game, of course. You see the one-handed catch that Hopkins made? Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable.
So they're right there all the time. They might have more talent, but they couldn't stop Allen, that's for sure. And they couldn't stop, y- you know, 41 points for the Ravens to give up 41 points. That's a big problem. So I see out of that game, again, even though it was in Buffalo, you just think because the Bills found a way to beat them last year too, right? In the playoffs.
Mark Andrews had the drop ball, and they
Right.
got
That's
stripped
right.
late.
And whatever you think about Lamar, I mean, his record in the playoffs is still terrible, even though he's one of the most talented guys in the NBA,
Yeah.
in the NBA, in the
And
N.
if so he's a joy. He's a video game in the regular season. You see how fast he moves and how his
Yeah.
balls are laser beam.
I was texting with Johnny, and it was interesting because when did Coleman get tripped up at the end of the
Yeah,
game?
he did. And
He
I
was
was
wondering,
thinking of you because we talk about that all the time. Like,
did you let him
do
score?
you let him score or not? Right.
Now that was at like the 8-10 yard line, I think. So really, it's hard to do. You're telling someone to teams do it, don't get me wrong, but you're telling someone to do something that is totally out of what they've learned to do their whole lives. That is
Right.
them score. But once again, when it's like this, you might as well let them score.
Yeah, there was some time left on the clock that if you're the Ravens, you get the ball back with some time. And this was one of those where you figured it's going to go down to who has the ball last. Now, the Ravens did get the ball, and the Bills scored and went for two and didn't make it. So they needed a
Right,
field goal. The
right.
Ravens went three and out, but they had a fourth down opportunity. I think they were at their own 38-yard line, which is almost field goal range as it is if you turn the ball over there. What would you like? John Harbaugh does not go for those a lot, whereas other coaches like to play for the win. And I know he threw the ball there, and I believe he threw the ball. Did he not? Yeah, when they were short. Or no, I'm sorry, he punted. They were short on third down. What would you have done there if you're the Ravens?
I think you got to try and win the game because what proof did they have that they could remotely stop the Bills
Stop
on
them.
any
Yeah, and they
possession?
went. And
Yeah, it's one
again,
of
they
those
went
games.
right down the field. That throw he made to like the third string tight end who was just Josh Allen. That was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It might be the game of the regular season already,
Oh, it was
but
so good.
I underline regular season though because this looked like the playoff Ravens somehow finding a way to lose. That's what it
It
looked like.
did.
And again, Derrick Henry, will he fumble again? I don't think so, but he did. But I'll also say this is week one. This is not a playoff game, so you
Right.
also have to take that into effect. And the Ravens pretty much scored it well, but so did the Bills.
So, I mean, both those teams got to wonder, like, okay, we gave up a lot of points. We got away with the win. The Bills did. They gave up a lot of points. Entertaining game to watch, but my goodness gracious. All right, let's go back to Sunday. And I thought, and you probably agree with me that look, it's one game, so I don't take a whole lot out of it. But if you ask me who I thought looked the soundest, and I think you'll agree, I thought the Packers did. They
Yeah,
pretty much handled it. That the final score was 27-13. It wasn't that close. 27-6 late. I don't know if it's because Detroit lost their two coordinators or I mean
I think
Michael
that's
Parsons
part of
played
it.
like 40% of the plays. And Jordan Love, I hammered him last week. He was very good.
I think that's part of it because you didn't see I don't want to say wacky plays, but certainly the different kinds of plays that the Lions ran last year. I don't know if they ran any of them on Sunday. I just don't
Well,
you
Ben
know,
Johnson always had some tricks up his sleeve.
exactly. So, uh, again, the Packers are real good. I don't think you can really measure Parsons just walking onto the field. Never mind playing well. I understand he only played 29 snaps, but he played well. He did get a sack, but it's one of those chase the quarterbacks down from behind, and the quarterback can't outrun you to the line of scrimmage when it's
Right,
snap.
right.
But he got a sack. He had pressures. They started to move him all over the field because I think who is it? Sewell, is that his name? I think the guy on the
Yeah, Penny
line.
Sewell.
Yeah, he's all pro the last two
Did you
seasons.
see the quote? He's like, yeah.
He did pretty well, I thought, against Parsons, but Parsons hasn't played. Now Parsons is playing. They're right back on Thursday against the Commanders. We're going to find out how good the Commanders are pretty quickly because they beat a Giants team again. That's just the way the Jets lost, which we'll get into. But the Giants, are they competitive? They asked Dable afterwards, is Russell Wilson, who was 17 for 37, going to be the quarterback next week? And he said, yeah. So everybody in New York's now waiting for the rookie. We'll see if that happens, but I don't think you can really measure what Parsons did. And you got to wonder if the Cowboys or their owner are watching this, if they can't see the obvious. And the obvious was this guy walks onto the field, even if he couldn't
He
go
makes a
100%.
difference. He makes a difference.
He makes a big difference. So, and also was it Campbell who said, well, to tell you the truth, there was a statement from someone on the lines, I think it was Campbell, who said they took Clark away and Clark's the best run stopper in the NFL. So, and that was the key to the game. I thought the Lions couldn't run even a little bit. Even a little bit they couldn't run. And that's why, they had their lowest point total in whatever and their lowest yardage and whatever. But the Packers obviously are for real. You're right about Love. You just don't know all the time. He played real well, obviously. So we'll have to see what happens. But the Packers to me are the standouts even more than the Bills. And I think based on one game more than the Eagles. But a lot of teams are, I don't want to say eliminating themselves, but the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs of old. And last year
Really don't seem it.
we talked every week last year, we talked about, boy, they were fortunate to win. Boy, they were fortunate to win. And then, eventually they got run over in the Super Bowl, frankly, by the Eagles, as you well know.
Mhm.
So we'll have to see what happens. But a lot of these teams, in the AFC, these standout teams, I don't know, most of them, if not all of them, look beatable. The Bills are beatable. The Ravens are beatable. They gave up 40 or 41 points respectively to the other team. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a sign to me that they're beatable. So, and in the NFC, I think the Packers and the Eagles have gone right to the top. And that's not surprising for a lot of people. Again, post getting Parsons. But you gotta wonder what Jerry Jones is thinking. He's still saying, "Oh, we're a better team now for this trade. We're a better team." And meanwhile, you're not winning anything this year.
No, I would agree with you. Yeah.
I think they do it
Packers.
again.
That's why I wrote that article. I was like, why is everyone worried about him not playing for the Cowboys? Cowboys weren't a threat much anyway.
I think
Packers were a lot closer to the Eagles, and
I think you're right.
I think you saw that on Sunday.
Absolutely.
There was some other. It was an interesting week one. It really was. I mean,
Yes.
the Commanders, oldest team in the league, but they took care of business pretty good against the Giants. How about I like this game, and it's a shame that the Justin Fields isn't getting the play for his play because he was very good with
Yeah.
the Jets the other day. But Aaron Rodgers threw four touchdown passes, and Chris Boswell hits a 60-yarder to win the. I mean, ridiculous to win the game, and the Steelers come away with a 2-point win over the Jets on the road. Afterwards, Aaron Rodgers was asked about. He said, well, yeah, well, yes, Aaron Glenn and I did meet, and he told me that, yes, he didn't think I was good enough to play or something like that. He goes, I'm happy that we beat anyone associated with the Jets organization.
No, that's exactly what he said because you could tell he was bitter, but they did essentially tell him he can't play anymore. And now he's the first Steeler quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger to Big Ben to throw four touchdowns in a game. So he's obviously turned it around quickly. The Jets defense is good, not great. Um, but I think it's like, he's got DK Metcalf. Uh, he's got the tight end who's real good, Janu. Uh, they're a team to be reckoned with, the Steelers, because they always turn games into scrums. But this one was more of a shootout, 22 for 30, 244 yards, four touchdowns, no picks for Aaron Rodgers. That's an awful good start. And you're right, Boswell kicking a 60-yarder. But I saw a thing with the footballs. Have you seen this thing this year? Apparently, they've done something to the footballs for kicking. And the thing I saw, I think it was on ESPN, said it's gonna be easier to kick field goals. If they make it easier to kick field goals now, where we're already a 50-yarder is, you don't even go, oh wow.
Well, I
You know,
saw
you
some of like Boswell, it looked like he could go from 65. Jake Elliott just kind of softly swung the leg through and went 58 yard. It looked like he went 65. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Guys were
apparently
bagging
there
him.
is. But if anything, I thought they were going to do something to make it more difficult. I don't know if they're ever going to move the goalposts in. I don't mean back, but I mean in, because now they seem out. It seems like everybody can make these, again, kicks in the 50s like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Um, but that's where we are. I mean, eventually, I thought we've already gotten there, but eventually it was going to be too easy from far away, and you'd have to change something. But so far nobody's done that. And again, if anything, for some reason the ball was changed, or the time that you can do something to it or something has changed, and it's making it a lot easier to kick a field goal. And when you have these guys who are already pros, the guy down in Dallas, he's going to kick a 70-yarder in a game.
Aubrey's got a big leg.
I think this year he's going to kick a 70-yarder in a game. I think didn't he do it in practice or an exhibition game or something?
Yeah.
But and a lot of these, like you said, Boswell's was easily over for 60 yards to win a game, by the way.
Winning and right down the middle and hit the net.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But I think that's the story. I know they're talking about all the returns we're having now in the kickoffs. We're having a lot more returns. I don't see anyone really breaking much of anything, but that's true. But I think they're going to have to deal with the fact that the field goal has almost taken over in terms of, when you want to get into field goal position now, if you can get to the 40-yard line of the other team, it's not a gimme, but it's,
When you
58
hit it
yards
straight,
or
it's going to
whatever.
go.
Exactly.
Of course,
So,
you can't convince a Cleveland Brown fan that's the case because Andre Schmitz missed, I believe, one inside the 45, and he missed an extra point, and the Bengals hung on to win by a point over the Browns. So in Cleveland, that's always, I always, if I had to, would take the dog because those games are always close no matter where they were. But Joe Burrow was running for his life.
yeah.
But they got it done, and the Browns,
Well, the Browns are the Browns in New York if you're a Giants fan, even though they've been terrible since they won the Super Bowl last. But the Jets are the Jets. The Mets are the Mets. I know we're not doing baseball now, but the Mets are the Mets. And that's just the view. Now, we didn't see anything to lose that game at home to the Steelers is the Jets are the Jets. But having said that, as a Giants fan, I don't know that the Giants are even better than the Jets, but I don't see the Giants have a horrific schedule. How that happens is beyond me because they were
yeah, they do.
awful. Yeah. I don't know how that works. I mean, somebody should complain because Dable's going, oh yeah, we're getting ready for for next week. Who are they playing? They're playing Dallas. I don't see
If
how
they,
they
excuse me, if they Cowboys. Oh,
I don't see how they can beat Dallas, but I hope I'm wrong, obviously. But whatever. So again, you can't have the overreaction. You were right, overreaction Tuesday, and there might be an overreaction from me about how bad the Lions looked against the Packers. It's not an
oh no,
overreaction.
they did look pretty bad.
And it's not an overreaction from me that the Ravens just find a way to lose these kinds of games, but it's usually in the playoffs. It's not usually during the regular season. If Henry doesn't fumble, they probably win that game. But there's always one of those with the Ravens. If blank hadn't happened, they would have won. Playoff game, regular season game. But they're still, look, the Ravens are still an elite team. But I saw a thing, the Bills might be favored in every one of the rest of their games. Could they go undefeated? Can they be that
No,
good?
we're not giving up 40 points. No, not
I
with a
agree.
defense that gives up 40 points.
I agree.
Of course, it
I
was
mean,
that game. Something, and the next time you see a game, and it'll be like, 6-3. Like, how's that happen? Like, we talk about the NFL from week to week. Like, you know what? Other teams just can't get it right. And there was a big story that came out yesterday from Tyler Dunn of Go Long about the dysfunction of the Bears. And they talked to most of the coaches that aren't there anymore and scouts about Caleb Williams. I sent you the article. Read it if you get a chance. It's a three-parter. I did a piece on Heavy last night about how lucky Philly fans should be that they have Jalen Hurts, who's very professional and very, work ethic oriented, and Caleb Williams seems to be the anti that, and Ryan Poles, the GM, kind of looked the other way with all these red flags. That's two I'm not going to say missed on Caleb Williams, a lot of time left, but he was part of the Mitch Trubisky where San Francisco fleeced him for him to move from 3-2 and take to Trubisky, and he's no longer with the Bear. I don't know where Trubisky is a backup. But it did not portray Ryan Poles as a competent GM either. But anyway, they had a big lead last night, and I was curious to see how J.J. McCarthy was going to play. He didn't play all that great in the first half, but when he needed to, a couple touchdown passes in the fourth quarter, and he comes out with the victory.
yeah, the last Viking to do that
Van
was
Tarkenton.
Kevin Tarkenton, 1961. But what I found more interesting is McCarthy, who did not, you're right, looked terrible. But look, it's the first half he's playing. He didn't play at all last year. He was hurt. But he's the first quarterback in the history of the NFL in their first start to account for three touchdowns in the fourth quarter. He had two passing touchdowns and one rushing touchdown, which was a gutty run just to get into the end zone. And they turned it around. But again, to me, they found a team that you could turn it around on. You know
Yep.
what I mean? The Bears are the Bears are the Bears. I hate to say it. And it was kind of sad because this was the 40-year anniversary. They celebrated the 85 Bears, arguably the greatest defense ever. And, a bunch of those guys were in the stands, apparently. And it had to be hard to watch that game as you had it under control, 17-6, right?
Yeah, I had it under control. They missed the fourth quarter field goal to start the fourth quarter. It could have been 20 to um, 6, and then J.J. McCarthy took over.
Yeah, well, it really was incredible. You got to give him credit because now after one, Sam Darnold, I think he threw for like 150 yards for Seattle in their loss to the 49ers. So it's looking like they've made a good choice at least after one game, and frankly, only the second half. We'll see what happens. But he showed a lot of guts, McCarthy. And if they made the right decision, and it looks like they did, what'd they save? 40 million a year, 45 million a year,
It's a
50 million
lot.
a year. And now they have him on the rookie, he's not gonna
Right.
he's not gonna make
Exactly.
a lot of money for 4 or 5 years. So that, I thought that was a mistake. I thought they should have signed Sam Darnold, but it's a new thing. It's kind of like Jerry Jones with Micah Parsons. Oh, look at all the money we saved. We're going to get five more players, two first-round draft picks, and we can sign some because we're not paying him, blah, blah, blah. But it's a different deal with Parsons, in my opinion. But if McCarthy turns out to be good, and you have to give him credit, he won that game in the second half, mainly the fourth quarter. Um, Three touchdowns in the fourth quarter is a big deal for any quarterback, let alone a rookie. But he's apparently the first rookie ever to do it in his first game. So congratulations to him. Um, and finally, Minnesota, by the way, Not taking anything away from JJ McCarthy, but the reason he was so good in the fourth quarter was they had a running game going that they hadn't had the whole game.
They did.
It looked like 11 against 8 when they were running the ball. It was like, where are you going to stop me at 7 yards or 9 yards or 12 yards?
No, you're right about that. And that it really does play. They play off each other like that's what's called complementary football. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the mess in Miami. The Colts. Danny Jones, by the way,
MVP, MVP.
MVP. He was great. He was great. He was great in Shane Steichen's offense, and Tua was not. And the whole Dolphins. And there was a weird quote from Coach McDaniel afterwards. I didn't couldn't hardly even decipher what he was talking about. But they lost 33-8, and it's one of those where you're like, did you guys not practice that much? Like, I mean, they just looked so overwhelmed.
Did you see Tyreek Hill on the sidelines?
Yes, that's kind of
Sounded like he wanted out again to me, the way he was losing
you
his
know
mind.
they didn't name him captain, right? Because he was last year he wanted out at the end of the year.
Yeah, but I think the NFL MVP for week one might very well be Daniel Jones.
Oh, well, I think it is. We
This is 22 for 29, 272 yards, one touchdown, no picks, and he's got to be like the happiest guy in the world when he's looking what's happening. He had two rushing TDs, by the way, and it's the first time in 45 years that a team scored every time they had the ball in an entire game.
seven.
Indy had the game ball 7 times, and they had 7 scores. Now they got the right team to do it against because it looks like Miami, even before this game, wasn't going to be very good this year. And if Tyreek Hill loses his mind and they lose their deep threat, then they're really going to be bad. And nothing against Daniel Jones. We always said the Giants had a terrible line. I didn't think he was they had to give him 40 million when he won that playoff game, right? But I didn't think he was a $40 million a year quarterback, but he's obviously they made the right choice in Indianapolis to start him. And I think he's average to slightly better than average quarterback, but he was getting 40 million in New York. So
Yeah, he was. I think he's on he got 14 million this year to play for the Colts, and I think Anthony Richardson they believe is not an NFL quarterback because they said this was a decision. He's not going to have a short leash. Daniel Jones will not have a short leash. Shane Steichen said. It doesn't sound like Anthony Richardson's going to see a lot of playing time, but
yeah, I wanted to talk briefly about Titans Broncos because Cam Ward was 12 for 28 for 112 yards.
hmm
No, I picked the Broncos. I could have got -7.5 on Wednesday when I liked them, but we didn't do the show till Saturday when they were 8.5.
hmm
But just watching, not betting, just watching, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. In fact, in this game, they had a chance. You talk about, do you go for it? What do you do? I don't know if you saw this was very weird to me. Peyton, I thought was a little smarter than this. They could have even had this was like I want to say with a minute left. They could have had Lutz try a 53-yard field goal or punt on fourth down with about a minute left in the game, and I don't know what happened to Peyton because he didn't punt, he didn't kick the field goal. Instead, Bo Nix went back and threw like a rainbow. Did you see this last play? He threw a rain,
No,
not the last play, but he threw a rainbow like 35, 40 yards downfield, which fell incomplete. So they got the ball as if you had missed the field goal.
how much time left?
About a minute. They had
What?
time. They had time to score, but they couldn't
A
move the.
minute left, he threw that rainbow?
I'm pretty sure it was a minute, maybe, 50 seconds, but there was time. And that was the whole point. You didn't kick the field goal because then they would have got it at the spot. And you're like, well, hold it now. What did he do? It was like sometimes when there's 5 seconds or 7 seconds left in the game, you'll have a guy go deep and the quarterback throws it as high in the air as he can throw it.
Sure, absolutely.
And you can kill the clock that way. But that was not a kill the clock. They had to have a completion or else Titans got the ball. But again, the Titans scored 4 field goals. I didn't even think they'd get that much, frankly. A little disappointed in Bo Nix. I know the Titans have a decent defense. But again, it's the old, one game. We'll see what happens, all that kind of stuff. And I guess we got to mention our guy Baker, huh? 3 touchdown passes. The
Yep,
Bucks went on to beat Atlanta, who they have a lot of trouble with.
yep.
I think they lost both last year to Atlanta. And Penix Jr. was good, 27 for 42, 298 yards, touchdown, no picks, rushing touchdown. But Baker finds a way. And this Abuka, the rookie Abuka from Ohio State, Four
Yeah.
catches, 67 yards, but two touchdowns. Um, you got to give these guys a lot of credit, but Baker's off to the races again. He only threw for 167 yards, but three touchdowns, no picks, including the game winner late.
Yeah.
And then Koo, who I think Koo was pretty bad last year he was 25 for 34 last year. Before that, he was really solid. And he had one of those kicks that just, it looks like they're going and they just veer to the right had to move 15 feet to the right to miss it. And
Yeah.
that would have tied the game up. Don't get me wrong, that wouldn't
Yeah.
have won. But I think they're losing confidence in him, and that was a 44 yarder.
Boing. Yeah, it was because he was good a couple years ago. I thought,
49ers, the 49ers, um, I don't think McCaffrey played. I
yeah,
saw.
he played a little bit. He played a little
Yeah,
bit.
but he's not McCaffrey.
No, he's not.
26 for 35, 277 yards, two touchdowns, but two picks as well. But an incredible play to win the game with 34 seconds left to Jake Tongas, his first catch. I think his first NFL catch was for a game-winning touchdown to beat the Seahawks
Wow. Yeah,
17.
he played. Purdy played pretty well. I mean, aside from those picks, he played a very good ball game.
Yeah, but Kittle came out of the game with a hamstring. Jennings is hurt. McCaffrey hardly played. They signed Kendrick Bourne, who you may recall is a wide receiver at the Patriots, at least I
Sure.
remember that. And, can the 49ers be in there? Well, they need a healthy McCaffrey to play the whole game and the whole season. And don't forget, Debo's gone. Debo had 7 receptions in his
With
first game as a commander. But they're going,
Washington.
they're going to Green Bay on Thursday, so that'll be a good test for
Interesting
Washington.
matchup.
Yeah, right now I'm sure the Packers are going to be over favored, but I think Washington. We'll talk. We'll make Super Bowl picks, I guess, but I think the Commanders have a chance to really make some noise, as they did last year. I think they'll only be better this year.
No, I would agree with that. And I'll tell you, give me 1 second. I'm going to give you something on Thursday night's games. Um, because that's a pretty good game on this Thursday night. It is. It's on Prime.
Yeah,
And
Commanders, Packers, right?
yeah, I'm looking for the line. I don't want vivid seats. All right, give me 1 second. Because the marquee game, I think, will be the rematch of the Super Bowl, which would be Eagles and Chiefs at 425. Neither team really played all that well last week. Chiefs coming away with a loss. Looks like Kelsey might not be Kelsey anymore, which we kind of knew going in. The line on that game is Green Bay -3.5 at home.
Yeah, that strikes me as low based on what I saw, but I'm a Commanders guy, and I think they have a chance to win the game, but I don't think I'll be picking either way.
Yeah, that's and the Eagles are they're on the road. They're a 1.5 favorite. Tough to win these games early because you never know what's going on with these teams.
You're right.
Like you said, you
Six
need
week,
about
six
six
week,
weeks of
6 week
information.
rule.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, good stuff, bro. We'll be back on Friday to we'll talk about the Commanders and Packers game, and then we'll preview the rest of the weekend, week 2 of the NFL. You can catch Steve's stuff on his daily Facebook forum page, Speaking of Sports with Steve Kallas. Also, his videos on WestchesterCountyPost.com. This podcast on YouTube and all the audio outlets, and you can catch me on X at JoeStaszak975 or on Instagram at JoeStaszak4799. Good stuff, brother. Good start to
Always,
the NFL season, and we'll catch you next week.
always a pleasure,
You
Joe.
too, pal. Appreciate it, folks, for watching. We'll talk to you next time.